Hello YouTube, it's Grace again, and today I thought I'd actually talk about my most anticipated YA books for November 2016. So, quick note, if you can hear that noise in the background, which is music, my roommate is currently practicing guitar, so I can't really do anything about it. I am again next to the kitchen in my room, so therefore I can't do anything if any noise comes from that. But yeah, so let's get into it, since I have 9 books, but I'm not going to go into a large amount of detail because I feel like you should go into this somewhat blind but with some sort of rough idea. So yeah, and I have tried this month to actually put it in order of its release date. So to begin, I start with the Diabolic by S.J. Kincaid. So sorry if I'm pronouncing that so wrong. And this book comes out 1st of November. So this book essentially follows this girl, I believe her name is Nemesis, and for all her life she's been trained, she's been brought up to protect this other girl who's a senator's daughter. But then when that senator's daughter is threatened by a crazy emperor, she has to take the place of that daughter, and essentially it's like her journey through court politics essentially. And yeah, that's about as much as I know about it. Next is Bright Smoke Cold Fire by Rosamund Hodge, which should be out 3rd of November. And this is basically a kind of Romeo and Juliet inspired story. That's about as much as I know about it, and I don't really want to know more, since it really did intrigue me reading the synopsis, but I really don't want to share because I feel as if you'll be a bit spoiled if you read the synopsis of it, which is why I'm glad I've forgotten it by now. So 3rd is Timekeeper by Tara Sim, which should be out the 8th of November. It is a LGBT book, and essentially it's set in this world where there are these clock towers, and if a clock tower fails to work, or if it becomes faulty, then you can become frozen in time. So there are these timekeepers who are supposed to make sure that they look after the clocks, to make sure they're working, to make sure they're alright. So we follow a protagonist who's been an apprentice, who's really impressed his tutors and everything, but they're concerned about him because he actually has a father who's stuck in a frozen time, and he wants to launch a rescue mission to save his father. So they send him to another clock tower where he gains an apprentice. It turns out this apprentice though is actually the spirit of the clock tower, and the clock tower soon comes under threat, so he has to overcome the struggles whilst also I guess have the growing feelings for this other spirit. And yeah, that's about as much as I really know. Next is Dead Girl Society by Michelle Cries, sorry, and that is again out on the 8th of November. So this one follows a girl who I believe has cystic fibrosis is what it says. Sorry if I'm wrong on that. But the synopsis on Goodreads really cracked me up at first. And it's basically about this girl who receives this letter from this society to invite her to play a bunch of dares and play a bunch of games. And she's always felt very smothered by her best friend and her mother, who really treating her like a porcelain doll. They're really trying to be overprotective of her, and she's really frustrated with it. So she decides to accept the invitation to this society, not knowing that the society, it may be easy to get in, but it's not easy to get out of. So yeah. Next one is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I'm sure this is very popular, so I'm not really going to say a lot about it, but it comes out on the 8th of November. And essentially it is a sort of Alice in Wonderland inspired story, but about the Queen of Hearts and her journey before she actually became the Queen of Hearts. Yeah. Next is Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Colehurst. I'm sorry. And that comes out the 22nd of November. It is a LGBT fantasy story, I believe, which follows this princess who has always known that she is destined to marry this prince, I believe. And something happens which causes her to have to partner up with her betrothed's sister to try and solve this mystery. And they grow closer together, and yeah. As I said before, I am going to be brief in what I give as a description, so yeah. Next is Shadowfall by Audrey Gray. Now, from what I understand, this is a sort of kind of dystopian, not dystopian, I'm not sure how you would term it. So basically, this meteor is approaching the Earth, and there is this platform that you go to be safe, but all the golds and all the silvers have these guaranteed places on this, whereas the bronzes have to fight for survival, essentially, to be able to go onto this platform to be safe. So the main character basically gets a beneficiary who wants her to be brought to the platform. So she has to basically fight her way to get to the platform. But on the platform, she's confronted with like the crazy emperor, her mad mother, and basically all her history at once is essentially on that platform, and she has to confront it. That's the sort of thing I gathered from that, but I'm not really hugely sure. Yeah. And finally, I have Scribe or Scribe or whatever it is. I'll probably write the name here now, because like, yeah, however you're going to pronounce it, please do share how you pronounce it. And this book is by Neil Schusterman, and it will again be out on the 22nd of November. A lot of books come out the 22nd of November, yeah. And this one essentially follows, I believe, these two people who have never wanted to be skeeves, whatever, but they're chosen to be the new skeeve, but they don't want it. But the problem is that one of them has to become a skeeve, and they have to kill the other one. So it's about like, both of them pretty much agree, no, we don't want this, but they have to do it. Otherwise, they could be killed. So they have to like basically fight to gain this power so that they could survive, essentially. I'm probably not explaining this very good. I suggest you look at the Goodreads, but yeah. Alright, and I wouldn't be doing this video if I didn't have an honourable mention. So my honourable mention is generally a book which I am personally very, very excited for, that I'm sure a lot of people already know a lot about, and the fact that it is coming out, a lot of people just know a terrible amount about this book. So that's why I'm not going to go into a huge amount of depth with it. But my honourable mention is not actually a sequel this month, because I don't think I could find any sequels for any books that I've read, because I've been really behind on reading. But yeah, and my honourable mention is The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon, which should be out the 1st of November according to Goodreads. Yeah. And I believe this follows this young Jamaican girl who's always had this sort of like rigid sort of structure to her life. When she finds out that her family are going to be deported back to Jamaica, I think it is. Forgive me if I'm wrong, I've been watching so many YouTube videos that I just can't keep up anymore. And yeah, so in the airport she meets this guy, and whirlwind romance kicks off in the usual Nicola Yoon fashion. So I've read everything. It was actually one of the first books I reviewed, if not the first book I reviewed, and it's one of my absolute all-time favourite contemporaries, and I don't read many of them, so yeah, but still it's one of my favourite contemporaries. I love like to reread it. It's a really great book, so I thought I'd mention her next book as my honourable mention. So yeah, those are the 9 books that I am most highly anticipating out of the book releases for YA for this month. So let me know down below any books you're highly anticipating, also any sort of releases this coming month that you're interested in, because I would love to check out, even if it is not YA. Even if it isn't YA, I'd still love to know. Yeah, can't think of much else to say besides that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, if you want to know more about my videos or stuff, check out my channel. If you want to find out when my next video will be posted, subscribe. So yeah, so thank you very much for watching, and I guess I will see you in another video very, very soon. So goodbye.